And welcome back, everybody. We got the second D Legion deck to have entered Standard, which is Brawlers, which is really cool because we never got Brawlers towards the end of V format like everyone was hoping for. So it's really cool that we have them now. I gotta say, as much as I've tested this deck out, this deck made me realize maybe I need to give Daikaiser a shot because this deck's like a lot of fun, like the whole cycle of delegioning and stuff. So it's really cool. I'm gonna get right into it. Um, if you guys want, leave down, and if you know any legions, leave them down in the comments below what you want to see come to standard. Obviously, as a Kagero guy, I would love to see them just go for like Vortex Dragonood or Overlord the Great, but obviously there's other cool options they could do. So we got Brawler fighting Draco Kid as your starter, and then we got Arc as your grade 1. So Arc is when he's placed on Vanguard, you're going to show off that you're playing Big Bang Knuckle, and you look at the top 7 for a card with the clan icon, but it can't have a sentinel ability to it, and add it to hand, which is really cool because most of our deck is clan cards, just because of the fact that we have stuff like Bellicosti and some of the random Vermilion support. My grade 2 of choice is Thunderstorm Dragoon, so a lot of people are on the Legion Mate as your grade 2 because it does have a Vanguard ability, but I think I prefer the deck thinning out and actually finding more Narukami cards because if you don't have more copies of this in hand, it kind of sucks. So you want to at least find one, which his top 7 will help you do that. And then we have the D Legion himself, which is Big Bang Knuckle. He is a wall of text, and I mean, as you can tell between the uh, the FFR here and like the regular one here, it's like a whole blanket of an effect. So D Legion is you get to take two triggers that aren't over triggers or heals, and then two regular cards, shuffle them back to deck, and you find out the specific mate, which is going to be Big Bang, Bang Slash Dragon. Gosh, that's a tongue twister if I've ever had one. Um, and it goes on the Vanguard circle. The powers are combined, so it'll be 10k base with a 13k base, so you're looking at 23 on your turn. It has the act ability to Soul Blast one, give the unit plus, or give the Vanguard +5, and then both you and your opponent are gonna show each other the top card of your deck, and whoever's grade is higher. Uh, if your grade is higher, your Vanguard gets a crit, or if you reveal a card with Brawler in the name, your Vanguard gets a crit, and then your opponent will put his card to the bottom of the deck, and you'll add the card to your hand. So the really neat part about that, I want to say, is I've played like at least 2 or 3 games where I've bottom decked my opponent's over trigger so they couldn't defensive OT me, which is really cool. And the last part of his effect is during your turn, if he's in D Legion, all your front row get +5, and then if you D-Legion that turn, you get to battle your opponent's front row, which is a really strong effect. Obviously, it's very reminiscent of the original Big Bang Knuckle. Um, Not a lot to say on that, but the goal is to keep using Legion every turn, and to do that, we're maxing out on the grade 3 in the main deck, even though it doesn't have Persona. And then for a surprising twist, I'm playing Shroud in Darkness as my Regalis piece. I haven't gotten to talk about this one yet. So basically, you pay a counterblast if you rode from Ride deck. If you haven't rode from Ride deck this turn, you get to not pay that counterblast, but you pick cards with up to your Vanguard's grade from your drop, and you call them to the field, and they have to have different names. So I didn't think that this card would be like the play for this deck, but this card is like genuinely really good in this deck. Like it's kind of shocking because you can bring back stuff like the guy that multi attacks for you instead of wasting a counterblast for him. You can just bring it back for free. Um, you can bring back Belly Aggro if you play it or if you want it. There's a lot of good cards you can grab back from this, which is really cool. So that is it for the grade 3 lineup. You don't really need any more than that. We have this huge text wall, kind of fitting because the D Legion is a huge text wall of Big Bang slash Dragon. I'm playing 4 copies. I want to just have the consistency of making sure I have it in my deck. also for the fact that it's how do I put this? It's a nice attacker because it'll swing for I believe it gets plus 10 once you're on D Legion. Yeah, for each of your Brawler Vanguards. So this is just a 20k beat stick, which is really nice. But basically, when it's placed on the Vanguard circle from your ability with D Legion, because that's all we're going to do for it, you Soul Blast one, you draw a card, and you get to move one of your opponent's like back rows to the front, and then you get the ability that for that for that turn your front row gets +5. So combined with Big Bang Knuckle, your front row is getting plus 10 just off of those two abilities, which is really cool. Um, and not a lot to say. It is our Legion mate, so we wanted to max out on it. Going on to that's a better spot. I'm playing 4 copies of Wild Fist Dragon. Now the cool thing about Wild Fist Dragon, not related to standard, but his ability is Vanguard Rearguard for his restand, meaning if you want to play a premium deck with him, you have a Brawler restanding Vanguard, which is kind of funny. Basically, you counterblast one, he restand or comes back from the drop if you don't have him on the field, and then when your grade 3 attacks, you get to counterblast one, restand him, and he gets plus 10. His other abilities, if you, I believe it's specifically if you legioned the turn. No, it's just if you're in Legion, sorry. If you're in Legion, he gets 5k. So he'll swing for 15 by himself, and then he'll swing for 25, which is really nice. Uh, an important clan card that I'm sure you guys might know from my other profiles, Bellicosti. So there's a really funny ruling where with Bellicosti that it's when your Vanguard attacks, and from what I've seen, it's been ruled that that counts your Legion mate. So he'll get plus 10 on your Vanguard swing, which is really cool. So you have 2 different 20k beaters. If you hit Drag Veda, he gets plus 20 instead of plus 10. It's kind of good, you know. Um, but overall, the whole purpose is he draws us cards, which is really good to have. Uh, and continuing, he also fills up our soul because we kind of go through that a little bit. Rounding up our grade 2s is 4 copies of Beliagro. There are some alternatives to him. Like there's a little package you could play in this deck instead of playing him. But we'll get to that in a little bit. I want to save that towards like after we're done rounding off the main deck. Basically, you discard him. He calls himself back for free as a rest, unless you're on grade 2 or greater, or if you're just a Dino Dragon, which is really cool. And he gets boost and can intercept from the back row when you are grade 3, and he gets 5k shield when your opponent is grade 3. So, really nice card. And then rounding up, we have Ace Unit and Defensing Roar. Not a lot to say about these. These are just generic good Dragon Empire stuff. You can't really beat that, right? And we'll move on to the small portion of the grade 1s that I have, which is 4 copies of, I believe it's Kome. Don't butcher me in the comments for that one. But this card's really important because when he's placed, he prevents your opponent from intercepting that turn, which is really cool because then you can guarantee that you're hitting all of the front row. And at the end of the battle, he goes to the soul, and you look at top 7 to add a card with the same name as your Vanguard. So you could grab the Legion Mate, you could grab Big Bang Knuckle. Big Bang Knuckle is normally the one that I am hunting for. 4 copies of Spark Spike Dragon. Weird to see this card not in a Vermilion deck, but always welcome to have it. So basically, if your Vanguard hits twice, he's giving the thing in front of him plus 10k. Otherwise, he's giving it plus 5. There is the rare occasion where you have energy to spare to draw one off of him, but normally my energy goes to Bellicosti just to keep my hand full. And lastly, 4 perfect cards. You can't beat the 4 perfect cards. Now, really quick, before we go to the triggers, I do want to talk about an alternative, what's the word? An alternation to the deck, which is 2 copies of this, which you might recognize from my Cody Blaze profile, and 2 copies of Rising Phoenix. These cards can get slotted in if you want to, uh, and I will grab some cards to swap out for it. But basically, what it does for this deck, uh, obviously, you want to have uh, two copies of Spark Spike Dragon on your field. But basically, what you can do is you can swing with the if you have these two in the drop, you can swing with this to end of battle, counterblast one, bind it, draw a card. These will see something get bound and will let you do an extra attack. So if you have, who is it? If you have Wild Fist on your field and you have this, you could do something like swing Wild Fist, swing, Vanguard will swing, this will restand, swing with this, bind this, and then you can call the two copies of Rising Phoenix, which is it's cute. I won't lie, it's pretty good. But the issue I had with it in testing was that I was. It felt like there was like one game where it mattered that I was hitting the six attacks, and then there was every other game where it just didn't feel good enough or relevant enough to worry about playing. But that is just how I personally feel about it. If you would like to make space for it, you can definitely cut two copies of Bella. Let's get you guys on the screen. What are we doing? You can cut two copies of Bellicosity. Um, you can cut one copy of Wild Fist, and then it's kind of rough for the last spot. There's a world where you can just cut the ace unit if you want, but I feel like the ace unit is kind of important. So I'd say you could even try to take out the Thunderstorm Dragoon from the ride deck, and then like this going to your ride deck would free you up a space. Uh, it is totally up to your preference though, which is why I didn't include it in my deck profile. But yes, this is a really good engine that I at least tried. Just wasn't a huge fan of, but when it works, your opponent's like, dang, this turn's gonna suck for me. But like for me, that just wasn't often enough to consider using it as my main one for the profile. Drag Veda, obviously this card's broken, so we gotta play it. We gotta play 8 crits, and we gotta play 3 fronts. So here's the one thing I do want to say about this specifically. Uh, because of how bulky this deck feels, like it's kind of got a defensive vibe to it, it almost makes me want to like cut 1 crit to play one more front. But I haven't fully decided on that yet. But that option is like up in the air. Obviously, 4 heals. Play the heals that you think are going to help you out in the meta, which at the current moment is probably the restand heals. But yeah, that is it for the trigger count and the deck profile. Appreciate you guys coming in to watch this video, and I hope you liked it. And we will still probably have more random stuff coming up in the next couple weeks. So stay tuned for that, and you guys have a great day. Peace out.